My name is Jack Joseph Puig. I'm a producer, mixer here in Los Angeles. I started off as a bass player initially. I worked in a couple different bands. One of my bands, we were doing demos one day and we were having technical difficulties. And I went into the control room to see if I could assist and help, and found myself immediately gravitating to that particular side of the glass and found that I had a natural aptitude for it. And so I started producing and mixing records, and I wanted to empower the artist. Coming from an artistic perspective, I realized that that was really the diamond in the rough, and I wanted to use my ability and my talents to empower that. I started here in Ocean Way working on a Black Crowes record, and from there I just kept going, and it felt great, it felt natural. And this is my 11th year working in this particular room at this point in time, and I've worked on all kinds of pop artists to rock artists, every kind of artist you can imagine.
Some of the more popular artists he has worked with to date include Lady Gaga, the Black Eyed Peas, No Doubt, the Rolling Stones, Eric Clapton, the Goo Goo Dolls, Mick Jagger, Lifehouse, John Mayer, and Green Day, just to name a few. Throughout his ongoing career, he has received various album credits for his work, ranging from assistant, engineer, mixing, A&R, drum programming, producer, bassist, remixing, audio production, executive producer, and many more, often doing more than one role for each album. He has also done work for multiple film and television soundtracks, including Shrek 2 and 3, Aquamarine, Elektra, Sky High, Mr. Deeds, and Bridget Jones's Diary. Being multi-skilled in this way has allowed him to better understand the music industry, which has given him the opportunity to build up the large collection of outboard gear he is renowned for.
Well, if you're an engineer, you definitely should produce a record, no matter even if it's a small little record, whatever, because it gives you an idea of what the producer's responsibility is, and that's an important thing because that makes you a better engineer. As a producer, it'd be great if you wrote some songs or tried to actually do some programming, like get your hands in the position of what the people you're working with do. Therefore, you can be a better right hand. The overview of it all is passion. I wish I could say that it's this Neve compressor does this, and this 1176, do this, and get the one with the blue face. And if it has a silver knob with the red light on the right, that's really good. But check the terminal strips, because maybe if it doesn't have that, it's not like the cool model that was used on such and such record. None of that really 100% matters. The only place all of this matters, and all of us that are gear sluts, which I am definitely a gear slut, is at feeding us in a passionate way to try to realize our dream of something that we hear in our head that we think could be great. And the other aspect of having all the different pieces of equipment that's great is it allows you to make all different kinds of sounds. And the truth of the matter is that some of the sounds that we like, that we think are great on records, really are indicative of the tools they had at the time. And you're not going to make a DBX 165 sound like a Fairchild. It just isn't going to happen. It's just two different things. And so having them both is fantastic. Neither is one better than the other, no. Is red better than green? No. But I would rather have a box of 64 Crayolas where I could actually make the colors of the world I want to make, as opposed to a box of 8. Could I take the 8 and put 2 together and make a different color? Yes. But I'll never get that silver Crayola or that white Crayola. It's only in that box of 64.
As a producer and engineer, he is not a fan of fixing the artist's mistakes within Pro Tools or other editing software after the session, preferring to get it right at the time. He is very hands-on, often mixing the projects he produces as well. He does not produce a project with the end format in mind, preferring to concentrate on the quality of the sound, getting it right, and getting it to be the best it can be. His main focus is the mid-range frequencies, as these tend to translate the best across various speaker systems. This sets him apart as a producer and engineer, as many others tend to focus on the bass or high end.
I don't believe in, when we get to the mixing, we'll make sure the bass drum sounds right, and then when we get to the mastering, we'll fix it again. So, The record should sound great from the very beginning and every step of the way, because as a record producer, you're evaluating the arrangement, you're evaluating the performances, you're evaluating what you need to do to make that record and that song, come to its full fruition. So if you're not hearing it right,
then how can you evaluate what it is?
One mix should be able to satisfy all formats. Look at it as, if you imagine in your mind a piano, when you're mixing, it's the same thing. You have some sounds that belong at C1, C3, which is the middle C, and then you have maybe a tambourine, which is kind of high, and you might have a sub bass, which is real low. And all you're doing is organizing the arrangement from that sonic standpoint from all the different frequencies so that all the frequencies are properly represented. And the most important thing, which I've said a million times, is the mid-range, that you get that right, because it's the only thing that's in common to every speaker system.
When he started his career as a producer and engineer, people used to go to studios for their unique sound and the boutique element of the room. Nowadays, with technological advancements meaning that a larger range of people are using the same gear, it has become more about the producer's style or signature sound. Jack Joseph Puig doesn't exactly have a particular sound, but instead focuses on his ability to understand what his clients want and to meet their brief. As a result, he has been asked to work on some rather unconventional projects, which come with their own set of challenges.
It depends what you're talking about. If you're talking about material coming to the mixer in a meg shift way, that happens all the time because records are being made increasingly in non-professional environments. I'm working on a record right now that was made in an office space. And so it's going to have its issues, and it does. Now you can fight those issues, or you can be smart about it and go along with them because you can't change it. So best analogy I can give you is if you wake up and that day you're going to the Grammys and you have a big pimple on your face, you're not going to be able to cover it. So rather than get all emotional about it, I would grab like a little black marker and make it like a mole. Make it look like it's on purpose. That's what you have to do in those situations.
Jack Joseph always sets his sessions up the exact same way each time he works, as a sort of preset or default. This allows him to know exactly where everything is without having to search for it. He finds the best work happens when you are in what he calls manual mode, when you are in operation from your gut and current instinct. He's quoted saying, "Lots of times when I'm working, I'll think to myself, oh, I better save this mix, and I'll look up at the computer and it's already saved, but I don't remember doing it." That's when you're on. At that point, you're not thinking about it, and it's the same for the equipment. You just reach for an EQ or a compressor the same way a musician would go for a Stratocaster or a Les Paul.
Like you get in a car for the first time that you purchase, you know, and you don't remember exactly where the key is, and you know the stick shift is kind of here. You know, you got to get used to it. And after
he drives a little more expensive cars than us. You know, stick shift. You know what he's talking about, right?
Yeah, because our cars are like the Flintstone cars. That's how we got here.
Well, I'm just saying that it takes you a bit of time, and then you actually start to get used to it, and you no longer start thinking about any of those things. So if you're having a serious thought in your mind that day about something, and you approach your car, you're not thinking about putting the key in the car. You're not thinking about you're doing all that, and you're still in your brain going through all these thoughts and processing what you're thinking about, right? Yeah. You grab your seatbelt, you're still thinking. And it's the same thing when you're mixing like that. As long as you have to start thinking about where's the bass, wrong space. You're out of it. Yeah. Where if I have them always set up the same way, right? I just don't even think about it. I just go and I grab it. It's like boom, boom. It's like that's where middle C is. That's where C1 is. You know, it's like playing an instrument.
Yep.
I don't even think about it.
Exactly. It's there for you.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it should be that way.
No question.
I have to say that Glenn Johns taught me that.
Jack Joseph Puig is an influential producer and engineer, not only because of his work on numerous projects to date, but also because of his work with Waves, a plug-in production company. This has opened up the industry and given other engineers, both amateur and professional alike, access to gear in plug-in form that they may never have had the chance to use without the plugins. This has helped to shape the music industry and contribute to the sound of a large number of today's albums.
I've been using Waves plugins since the beginning, and I wouldn't know what to do without them at this point. Waves is the best plugin company, without a shadow of a doubt. They have the best graphics, best aesthetic to them, and without a shadow of a doubt, they have the best sound to them. And the Wave plugins are either the most neutral in some cases, and in some cases color the sound, but they color the sound in a beautiful way. Yeah, Waves products are extremely, extremely reliable. They're the most reliable piece of digital gear I know of. So Waves and I have decided to work together because we have a mutual respect for each other. And I absolutely admire them, and there's really no other company I'd prefer to be with in this initiative that we're doing. The notion is to actually take some of the pieces of equipment that are in this room. We're starting with the Pultic and their Fairchild. But what we'd like to do is create plugins with some of the other pieces of equipment in this room that are not accessible to 90% of the people in the recording industry because they don't exist or they're not aware of them. Waves, again, because they're so reliable and so accurate and top at their game. I have the confidence that as we develop different pieces of equipment that we will model and modify, that they'll be extremely accurate and faithful to the initial perspective. For me, with my plugins, and the only thing I want to say about them is I really wanted to take care of the laptop artist and the LE operator. You know, someone who doesn't have the good fortune to work in a great record studio that I have that fortune. I'm very fortunate. So I wanted to be able for them to have those kinds of plugins that are made with tools that are, you know, extremely expensive tools that you could never find, that are rare or hard to find, packaged in a digital situation, so they get the benefit of it.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and they get the benefit of many years of experience. Of you with that fader up, that's like 20 years of experience.
Yeah.
You know, on one fader.
Wow.
And they get that.
Yeah.
And then that means they get to work on the songs.
Right.